Good afternoon, and welcome to the DCTV News at Noon program. This program is sponsored by the Southwest TV Translator Association and supported by the Dolores County Broadcasting Network, as seen on DCTV Channel 32.1.
The News at Noon program is the best news in the Four Corners area. We deliver a variety of news relevant to the Four Corners region.
We love to hear from you, so email us with what you want to see covered. With that said, I'm Kendra Cook and my co-host is Jerry Tope. Now let's take a look at the news for July the 12th, 2016. News from the Durango Herald. Police are looking for whoever shot the rear window out of a Durango Police Department patrol car on July 4th, causing more than $500 in damages, Lieutenant Ray Shoup said Monday. According to Shoup, the police car parked outside the DPD station at the intersection of 9th Street and East 2nd Avenue was shot with either a BB or pellet gun. Shoup said a day shift officer parked the vehicle around 5:25 p.m. and the officer on the next shift noticed the damage about 6:25. He said the police department has security cameras outside of the station, but none of them captured the area where the crime occurred. He said because of the police department's central and exposed location in downtown Durango, where police vehicles are parked openly on the street, vandalism is not uncommon. Shoup said in the past people have left homemade spikes out of nails behind tires or slashed tires, among other acts of vandalism. A lot of other departments have a secured parking area, Shoup said. We don't, and it's always been a concern as far as how open and accessible the police department is. But it's just the situation we live in. There's not a lot we can do about it at this point. Shoup said the charge for shooting the police vehicle window is criminal mischief. There are no current suspects.
From Cortez Journal reports, the Montezuma County Board of Commissioners plans to hold quarterly town hall meetings to help inform the public more about the county business and to have more opportunity for the public input. The meetings are planned for the third Tuesday of the first month of each quarter. However, because of a scheduling conflict, the first meeting will be Monday, July 18th at 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. The meeting will be held in the county annex on Montezuma Avenue. Interested Montezuma County residents are invited to attend. According to the county press release, the intent of these town hall meetings is for them to be a listening session both for the commissioners and the public. If you have questions concerning the Board of County Commissioners' actions, you are invited to ask those questions. If you have suggestions you believe would help to better run county business, you are invited to make those suggestions. If you have complaints concerning the operation of the county, your commissioners would like to hear them. These meetings will not be decision-making meetings. If something comes up in those meetings that demands a decision by the commission, it will be put on the agenda of a regular Board of County Commissioners meeting, and decisions will be made at that time. The Montezuma County Commission is composed of Keenan Ertel, James Lambert, and Larry Don Sukla. Depending on the number of participants, times for speaking may be limited, so have your questions, suggestions, or complaints prepared beforehand to save time. Perhaps this is an idea that could spread to other counties.
As written in the Cortez Journal from Denver, it's petition gathering season when proponents and the firms they hire to collect signatures gather outside grocery stores, churches, and on malls, asking Colorado voters to support their issues. Or here, it would be at the local gas stations. For the November ballot, several topics could face voters, including powers of local government, hydraulic fracturing, amending the state constitution, primary elections, medical aid in dying, minimum wage, retaining state revenue, and curbing marijuana and tobacco use. Proponents for any issue must collect 98,492 valid signatures by August 8th to make the ballot. Most groups will aim to collect at least 120,000 signatures so they have a cushion. Only one issue that would create a single-payer health care system in Colorado is already on the ballot. For every other issue, a sense of urgency has taken over. Fracking is hardly a new subject in Colorado. The Centennial State in many ways is ground zero for the conversation, with industrial operations moving into neighborhoods in rural areas and along the Front Range. Proponents, led largely by environmental groups and community activists, are back this year with two initiatives, one that would allow local governments to pass rules and regulations that overstep the state's authority, including banning fracking, and another that would require a minimum 2,500-foot setback of wells from homes, schools, and hospitals from 500 feet. A separate group of proponents is collecting signatures for a question that would establish that the people have an, quote, inherent right to local self-government in counties and municipalities, including the power to enact laws to establish, protect, and secure rights of natural persons, communities, and nature, as well as the power to define or eliminate the rights and powers of corporations or business entities to prevent them from interfering with those rights. Next up, given the array of issues possibly facing voters this November, it's appropriate that one effort aims to curb the number of ballot questions that would amend the state constitution. All it takes in Colorado to amend the Constitution is those 98,492 valid signatures to make the ballot and a simple majority vote of the people. Under the Raise the Bar campaign proposal, signatures would need to be collected from at least 2% of the registered voters in each of the 35 state Senate districts before an issue can qualify for the ballot. Provisions would need 55% of the vote to pass. Then, following the March 1st caucus debacle, voters called on the legislature to switch to a presidential primary in which unaffiliated voters could also participate. Yet another area in which the legislature failed to act was with advancing legislation that would gradually raise the minimum wage in Colorado to $12 an hour by 2020. And in the face of proliferating legal marijuana, a group has formed to limit THC potency to 16%. The effort would also set new packaging requirements, including labeling that strongly states perceived harms, such that marijuana carries a risk of, quote, permanent loss of brain abilities, a claim that opponents say has not been proven. In addition to limiting marijuana use, voters this November could be asked to raise the tax on a pack of cigarettes with the goal of reducing smoking. The tax would go up by $1.75 per pack, moving from 84 cents to $2.59 per pack. The question also would increase the tax on other tobacco products such as cigars, chewing tobacco by 22%. Funds would be directed to an array of services including cancer, heart and lung disease research, programs for veterans, mental and behavioral health, rural health care, and tobacco education.
A Durango Herald report says a 5-day search for evidence connected with the death of 13-year-old Dylan Redwine uncovered items of interest, but as expected, details are scant. The items were found within a 1 square mile search area in an upper portion of Middle Mountain above Vallecito Reservoir, where some of the teenagers' remains were discovered in June of 2013. La Plata County Sheriff's Office spokesman Dan Bender said that, like other evidence discovered in previous searches, the nature of the items found during the most recent search cannot be divulged. He said that the examination of search results will help determine what direction investigators will take next, and items of interest will be tested and added to evidence already collected throughout the investigation. The search began last Wednesday and concluded Monday with 1,088 work hours logged. 16 federal, state, and local agencies from Colorado and New Mexico participated, including the FBI, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, Denver Police, Fort Lewis College, and Fort Lewis College anthropologists. Over the course of 5 days, 69 people searched new and previously scoured terrain at elevations above 10,800 feet. Dylan went missing while on a court-ordered visit with his father, Mark Redwine, the week of Thanksgiving 2012. Mark Redwine has been named a person of interest in the investigation. Some of Dylan's remains were found the next summer, and his death has been ruled a homicide.
Out of BizWest.com, Christopher Wood reported on the state of the Colorado Crowdfunding Act. The Colorado Crowdfunding Act was signed into law by Governor John Hickenlooper in April 2015. It allows crowdfunding efforts through which investors can acquire debt or equity interests in a prospective company lawfully in the state of Colorado, according to the equity crowdfunding page of the Colorado Division of Securities website. Key to the measure are online intermediaries, essentially websites, through which equity can be raised. 5 companies initially filed with the Division of Securities to facilitate equity crowdfunding, including Colorado Equity Crowdfunding, Equity Eats Inc., Easy Exchange Ltd., Mass Venture Co., and Invest Local. Many of the websites have failed to become fully operational. There have not been any offerings yet conducted through any online intermediaries, said Colorado Securities Commissioner Gerald Rome. He said there have been problems with online intermediaries getting up and running, and the state has been working with some of them to help out on the issues. One of the issues with the law has been escrow requirements that have proved difficult for the intermediaries. An amendment to the Colorado Crowdfunding Act passed during the 2016 legislative season seeks to clarify certain escrow provisions. In addition to issues with intermediaries, software, and escrow, Rome said, some entrepreneurs might have delayed using the Colorado Crowdfunding Act in order to instead explore the federal crowdfunding provisions of the Jumpstart Our Business Startups, or JOBS, Act. Additionally, entrepreneurs have other options for raising funds, including Regulation D offerings, direct public offerings, and other structures. Colorado allows direct public offerings whereby securities can be registered and sold publicly. Dan Pabin, Democrat of Denver, a key sponsor of the Colorado Crowdfunding Act, said he understands that 4 or 5 fundings are in the pipeline under the law. He added that a good economy in Colorado means interest rates are low and that capital is fairly cheap and available, providing entrepreneurs with other options. Plus, he said, investors have many other options in terms of where to put their money. But he said if fundings under the Colorado Crowdfunding Act continue at their current, non-existent pace, it soon might be time to revisit the law. And now let's take a look at the weather, Jerry.
Today's winds for our area will vary and be about 17 miles per hour with gusts up to 25. NOAA says there's a slight chance for late day showers or thunderstorms over the mountains late in the week. But for us, it is sunny and clear and no clouds are expected till Thursday night, and of course hot and dry. Although our high temperatures in the 5-day flirt with 91, NOAA says they'll be in the upper 80s. Either way, it's not too bad, just so long as it's no more than low 90s. Red flag conditions continue. The Beaver Creek fire on our Colorado-Wyoming border has now charred 10,000 acres, and several others have yet to be contained. Long-range forecasts for early next week suggest a possibility of some moisture. Conditions for our seasonal monsoon, alias wheat harvest rains, are expected to change and bring moisture to the Four Corners region. But it is still too early to be confident and is dependent on several major ingredients coming into play at the same time. And at this time, the atmospheric moisture forecast is that at the lower end, and the same as those in late May and mid-June. That level only gave cooler conditions, afternoon clouds, and high mountain rains, and light spotty stuff here. So if you want rain on your beans, you'll want those available precipitation numbers to double at least, and triple to produce a really good rain. In our national image, a low-pressure system will move across Montana into the Dakotas Thursday and Friday. This will pull a cold front down the northern plains and Front Range on Friday. Some of the moisture may seep into the eastern reaches of our forecast area along the mountains near the divide Friday. Showers and thunderstorms will continue in the Midwest, Upper Midwest, and the Great Lakes region for the next couple of days. A slow-moving front covering the Upper Midwest to the southern high plains will very slowly reach the Upper Great Lakes and Central High Plains by Wednesday. Some storms across the Midwest and Upper Midwest have a slight risk for potential to become severe. Showers and thunderstorms will be possible from the Gulf Coast to the Mid-Atlantic and Ohio Valley. Rain over portions of the Pacific Northwest today will expand eastward to the Intermountain West by this afternoon. That rain will fade as it moves to the east, and tomorrow morning we'll see high pressure begin building in those areas. West of the Divide, it should be dry by evening. Our high temps will still be just plus or minus of 90, lows from 46 to 52. Winds will tend to vary faster and slower, with today seeing gusts in the mid-20s, and likely that's going to be the pattern in the winds all week. Sunny, hot, dry, and red flag warnings will stay in place. Now back to the news.
The Durango Herald reported keeping locomotives from the 1920s endlessly chugging to Silverton takes more than an oil change. At the Durango and Silverton Narrow Gauge Railroad, engineers are replacing decades-old parts and systems to keep the trains, a key piece of the economy, running. The locomotives run 500 steam trips a year, or about 40,000 miles. The fleet is expected to carry about 185,000 passengers this year, said Christian Robbins, a spokesman for the train. From linen drawings to cast iron brake shoes, many aspects of the train needed to be modernized, and about a year and a half ago, mechanical foreman Randy Babcock and his team started that process. Some changes will help staff put locomotive number 476 back on the tracks after 17 years in the museum. Babcock has 5 locomotives running now, and he would like to have 6 or 7 so they can be rotated more easily for regular maintenance. As part of a concerted effort to make upgrades, some parts that have been operational for decades are being replaced to prevent problems. That gets more challenging when the plans for them have been lost. With computer-assisted drafting, pictures of the parts can be used to create digital plans and models to create replacements. The staff also can correct and tweak the parts without changing the historic nature of the engine, said Larry Carlson, a mechanical engineer and machinist. For example, the staff is replacing main rods that drive the train forward because some of them are 80 to 90 years old. The staff is also making changes to the brake system to allow the use of low-friction brake shoes, a train piece similar to brake pads on a car. The new brake shoes are lighter and produce less heat. With digital plans for the new brake parts, Fort Lewis College students printed plastic models for the train staff to send to a foundry. Ryan Smith, an associate professor of physics and engineering who guided the students, said, "I think it's really cool. We can use the cutting-edge technology of 3D printing for a 19th century locomotive. We're keeping the past alive." Rebuilding the number 476 engine also will require new technology because the entire smoke box on the front end of the train below the smokestack has rotted out and must be rebuilt. The compartment where the smoke and hot gases come together has 50 to 60 hand machine bolts that will be replaced using a computer-run lathe. The smoke box is just the first of hundreds of upgrades to make the antique run again, and work on the engine could take 18 months to 2 years. But moving into the 21st century is likely to take much longer. Babcock hopes to have most of the work done over the next 10 years, but it likely will be ongoing even after that.
The Cortez Journal reported that Cortez BMX saw a boom in attendance at its annual state race on Saturday. Other than a few minor glitches with the audio system, track operator Mark Baxter was delighted with the event and with the number of riders and spectators that gathered at the dirt track near Parque de Vida. In fact, the turnout was nearly double that of last year's race. Last year, the state qualifying race featured 25 motocrosses, I'm assuming that's their equipment, and 125 riders. Baxter said that Durango hosting a big race the following day may have contributed to some of the growth. He thinks most can be attributed to the increased interest in BMX across the western slope. He said that this side of the mountain is really exploding with BMX, and we've got a big local community. Durango is growing, and Grand Junction is really growing too. I just think BMX is on the rise statewide, he said. The growth of the race wasn't the only highlight. The event also raised over $200 for the Cortez BMX Scholarship Fund. The fund helps pay for membership fees and gives riders 8 free races at the track. Baxter said he expects the amount raised will cover scholarships for 6 local riders. Saturday's race was part of the state race series and can be used as one of the 4 necessary qualifying races. 4 riders planning to complete in the state championship at Grand Valley BMX in Grand Junction September the 10th and the 11th. Local races feature open registration, and interested riders are encouraged to show up and register prior to the races. Those interested can also learn more and view results from the state race by visiting cortezbmx.org.
Reported in the cannabis.co by Alicia Wallace, a lord of lawn and garden isn't backing down from his plans for building a billion-dollar business in the legal weed market. Jim Hagedorn, the CEO of Scott's Miracle Grow Company, has flown in the face of his company's board by wanting to target cannabis growers as customers. Hagedorn recently spoke in depth with Forbes about his vision for capitalizing on cannabis. "It is the biggest thing I've ever seen in lawn and garden," he told Forbes reporter Dan Alexander. While piloting his private jet named the F-Bomb, the executive and former F-16 fighter pilot, who calls himself an acquired taste, talked of his plans to invest $500 million in the marijuana industry, according to Forbes. He shelled out $135 million last year on 2 California-based businesses that sell fertilizers, soils, and accessories to pot growers. Recently spent another $120 million on a still undisclosed lighting and hydroponics equipment company in Amsterdam, and promises to invest about another $150 million by the end of 2016. Altogether, the deals are bigger than the largest single acquisition in the history of Scott's Miracle-Gro, which takes in $160 million of profit on $3 billion in sales annually. The marijuana industry's waters remain plenty murky for some. Cannabis continues to be classified as a Schedule I drug, deeming it illegal on the federal level. But the rewards of getting in on the ground floor of an industry that is gaining acceptance among a growing number of states ultimately could outstrip the risks. And that play could very well go beyond hydroponics and into areas such as fertilizers, pesticides, and even genetically modified cannabis strains, according to Forbes. Hagedorn has not given up on growing his own marijuana either. He is already looking into foreign markets like Israel, Canada, and Jamaica, where Scott's might be able to legally set up labs to test its products and conduct cannabis research. Hagedorn's most eye-opening idea is someday expanding the company's research on genetics into cannabis to create GMO marijuana. Showing an ounce of restraint, he says he is not ready to run that idea by the company's directors yet. Scott Brands and Miracle-Gro are both owned by Monsanto, who is allegedly working in research in Uruguay for patentable cannabis GMO strains since that country made it legal 2 years ago.
And now for the Dolores County Sheriff's Roundup for the week of July 4th through the 10th. A spouse reported an overdue hiker expected to have made contact from a hike on Lone Cone. Deputies responded and found the hiker safe and well in their vehicle on their way home. A report was made by the County Inn Motel that a guest had taken property and damaged the door upon leaving. Deputies are investigating. A visitor of Caton Campground reported an assault. The case is under investigation. A town resident requested a welfare check on a neighbor not seen in a few days. The neighbor was found safe and well. Also, a sheriff's note discourages open burning, stating, although there is not a fire ban in Dolores County, Sheriff Jerry Martin is discouraging any open burning in the county. With the recent wind and dry weather pattern, fire danger is increasing. Conditions will be monitored closely by the Sheriff and Forest Service with the possibility of the fire ban being implemented in the near future. Please report any smoke sighting to dispatch so a quick response can be made by the fire department. He said the community's cooperation is deeply appreciated. That's it for today's Roundup. Stay tuned this week for continuing coverage.
And in today's High Country Happenings, July 14th, Thursday, from 1 to 2:30 p.m., the Support Group for People Living with Fibromyalgia holds their free meeting. For more details, call 970-570-8001. July 15th, Friday, the U.S. Racing Association will host races for mods, stock cars, limited mods, B-mods, hobby and mini stock, sport compacts at the Cortez Fairgrounds Speedway. Interested competitors are encouraged to register at the track with races beginning at sundown around 8 p.m. Saturday, July 16th, the Dolores County Junior Rodeo Series continues at the Dolores County Fairgrounds in Dove Creek, Colorado. Check-in is at 8:30 a.m. and the rodeo begins at 9 a.m. For more details, visit the Dolores County Junior Rodeo on Facebook. All of these details are listed on our Facebook page. We are also embedding the YouTube replays on Facebook/DCTV News at Noon. Please send us your event info to dcbnnews@gmail.com or call the station at 677-4119 and we'll get it on the air. Again, thanks for tuning in. This program is aired live on noon, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and rebroadcast at 2:30 and 8 on Channel 32.1 Dolores County, Channel 30.4 in Montezuma County, and their cable Channel 5.
You can rewatch the news on YouTube. Search for the DCTV News at Noon channel or check it out on our Facebook page. Today is Talk Tuesday, so directly following the news, we will be talking live with you, the community. Stay tuned in and call in with your comments.
For Jerry Tope and all those working to bring you DCTV and the News at Noon program from Dove Creek, USA, I'm Kendra Cook. Thanks for watching.